What's going on, guys? Your boy Amazing. We're back with another video, and in today's video, guys, I wanted to have a discussion here with you guys about the state of LR characters in Grand Cross. As of late, guys, we've been getting some LR characters that just haven't been up to par like they used to be, and I wanted to have a discussion video here where we can kind of talk about, what the LRs used to be versus now, and how it actually improved the way LRs are made in Grand Cross. If you guys enjoy videos like this, definitely make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I know it's not really a hype time in Grand Cross right now at the moment, guys, but if you have anything to say about LR characters, let me know in the comments below. I do want this to be kind of a discussion video where you guys can put your ideas out there. Now, with that out of the way, guys, let's hop in and let's talk about the first LR we ever got and how it used to be versus now. Alright, guys, the first LR we ever received on Grand Cross was actually Lostvayne Meliodas. Now, he came out during the, I think it was the 4th anniversary for JP, and yeah, he was just absolutely insane, man. The first ever LR. He really fulfilled the whole legendary rarity character on his release, because Lostvayne Meliodas was, if not the best unit in the game, arguably the best unit in the game on his release. And the way that they made Lostvayne good was initially the character only got rank ups whenever he got crit, and that was all he had in his passive. After his LR, he got a lot of things added that made him a lot better of a character. Lostvayne got critical defense every time he got crit on, up to 3 times, being 90% total, and then also gained attack related stats by 10% every time he got crit as well, while he's ranking up his skills. So this character went from being just a very mediocre character in the game to being one of the best units in the game with his LR and the way they did his passive. They also did revamp a lot of his other skills as well, and they gave him a holy relic. So if you look at his first skill here, he actually gained the sever effect on a single target, whereas before his LR, it just used to be a standard attack percent gauge fill skill, which was really strong, the fact that they started adding effects, and this gave us a precedent for what future LRs could be, where we could get these other damaging effects on, skills that weren't really that up to par nowadays. And so yeah, this is just one example of a skill, guys, but it receives sever, increasing the amount of damage this would do, because you're most likely guaranteed critting with this skill. And then Lostvayne also had a skill here where instead of it just being the charge AoE, they actually started to add effects onto skills that already had effects. So now this charge effect actually did gain infect, and you can actually restrict recovery related stats, which at the time was absolutely broken, and even till this day, infect is still a very, very strong skill in the game. So that being our first LR right there, guys, just kind of gave us an idea of what we can expect from these characters. They literally say it as legendary rarity, meaning the pinnacle of making a character good again. They really went from a very mediocre Lostvayne, because he's been super old at this point, and they made him absolutely broken with his LR. Alright, guys, now moving into Holy Knight Esken right here, this is where I feel like LRs were kind of getting defined for what they were made to do in the game. LR Esken on release wasn't really a great character, because he was pretty much forced to be run on a specific team, and at the time that team just was not good. Right here in his passive, it says if all allies including the secondary slot are humans, then you get additional things in his passive, being the eternal flames on the enemy at the start of the ally's turn. And so things like that, where they had that in LR Esken's passive, kind of forced him into being on a specific team, and he wasn't going to be good unless the team itself was good. And so that was the main problem with LR Esken on his release. But as you guys know, humans got a lot better over time. We got Chaos Arthur, we got like Percival, we had now Fumi from the Rising of the Shield Hero collab. So we had a bunch of characters released that did make, the human team a lot better. Even like Yuri from the Tower of God collab. So a lot of characters that did release alongside it. But the thing is with LR Esken is that he was pretty much shoehorned into the human team. And if humans were not going to be a good team, LR Esken was not going to be a good unit as well. So that was kind of the shift that they did with LRs, where they went from Lostvayne, where he was pretty much universally, able to be run on any team you actually had in the game, to where we had LR Esken, where he was strictly made for one team in the game, which I actually don't think is necessarily a bad thing. It's just a bad thing when it comes down to teams that are just never going to be getting good anyways. And that's, that's going to kind of segue us into, kind of the more recent LRs that we've been getting in the game. Now moving into the more recent LRs, guys, let's actually talk about the brand new one that did released on global today, which is going to be the Lilia of Desire. Now, Lilia, the main problem with her, in my opinion, is that she's limited to a team that is just not good in the game at the moment. Now, in her passive here, it says that, you know, you want to be using her alongside 7 Catastrophes allies because they get a 50% damage cap and they also get their attack related stats increase whenever this debuff on the enemy is naturally removed, when it, you know, from remaining HP at the end of every turn. Now, the flaw that Lilia has in her kit is that her passive effect right here, specifically with the Power of Destruction, is easily removable because of DK Meliodas in the meta. Specifically in a PvP setting here, guys, Lilia is just not going to be that good because the way DK Meli's cleanse works actually nullifies her whole Power Destruction effect entirely, and you don't gain any of this attack related stats at all, which absolutely ruins this character's viability in PvP. And I don't know if that's just an oversight from the devs or the way they had it operate, but it should not work like that in that manner. It just, whenever it should be removed, you should be able to get that as 7% attack related stats for Catastrophe allies. I don't know why they didn't make it so that the moment it was just removed, it would just apply. But that's just the way they made it, and that actually does, you know, mess up Lilia a ton. Not to mention as well that you have to run her alongside 7 Catastrophes for her to be even at her best. It really is just kind of a bad thing that they've done with this character, guys. And because we're not going to be getting any 7 Catastrophes characters in a while from now, I don't really know how well Lilia is going to be good. Other than when, you know, maybe 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line, when we have a lot more 7 Catastrophes characters, that's really going to matter for that team. Another character that released pretty recently, guys, that is an LR that I feel like Netmarble really just kind of dropped the ball on was LR Galand. And LR Galand is still a character that can get a Holy Relic. He was the first LR to not actually receive one, and I think that was a super big mistake because of the fact that this character didn't really get enough in his passive. Now, the way they made Galand was that they made him kind of work around his Coerce and also the Petrify effect from his Commandment. Now, the main problem with this effect is that whenever DK Meli does his rank up through his passive, whenever he's cleansing debuffs on allies or when he gets, you know, max, seeds at the end, whenever he's able to do that, guys, what happens is Galand's Commandment does not affect that at all because Galand's Commandment is only working against rank up and rank down skills. And that is the main thing that really shoehorns Galand to being just a mediocre character because he does not affect the meta at all. And for what he's trying to do with his Petrify effect in his passive here, where he increases damage dealt to petrified enemies by 50%, you're just never getting that off because a mainstay character like DK Meli, whenever he ranks up, it's not through a skill, so you don't really get the effect to happen. Now, this is something that we've seen already with 2 characters here, being Lilia and Galand, that it's just a complete oversight from the devs where they did not either buff Galand's, commandment here to deal with rank down, rank up passives, and then with Lilia, they made it so that it only can, you know, work for her passive when the Power Destruction is removed from the end of the turn and not during the turn when Meli cleanses all the debuffs. And so that's why these characters, I feel like, as of late, have just not been very good in the game, guys. And, you know, it's just been a really tough time with LR releases because they don't really feel as good as they used to be with, you know, like Lostvayne and even LR Liz, which I didn't even mention in this video yet. The best example, I think, of what an LR character should be, guys, is actually going to be LR Liz. Now, LR Liz, in my opinion, is the best LR they've ever done in the game. And the main reason for that is because it works so well to what she's trying to do. Now, LR Liz is in a niche where it's specifically in PvE, but because of her high CC and because she has a Holy Relic that is universal, people do run her in PvP as well because of that viability. Now, the reason why I think, you know, Elizabeth is what an LR should be and what they should continue doing with LRs in the future is because of the way she works in her passive, where she's allowed to be able to give, you know, allies basic stats in PvE. They pretty much, you know, strictly made her a PvE unit, but as I mentioned again, because she's a high CC character and her Holy Relic is universal, you're able to run her on PvP as a backline regardless. But putting her to a specific content in the game that actually was very, very good in that content allowed this character to shine, and she wasn't limited to a specific team. Whereas these other characters that we have as LRs like Galand, like Lilia, like LR Escanor, they're all specifically made for one team, and if you're not running them on that one team, the character is just not going to be that good. And so that's the great thing about Elizabeth, is you can run her on a goddess team for big basic stats on a goddess team. You can also run her on a, different race team if you're running her for, Ratatoskr. And that's the value that Princess Elizabeth provides for the team. Because she's able to be run on a lot of things in PvE, she's pretty much a more universally used character. And I think not shoehorning her into a specific team allowed her to actually shine as a good PvE character. Like, imagine if Princess Elizabeth was only limited to running her on the goddess team, guys. Imagine how much worse this character would be, because she would only be able to be used on one team and in only one thing in the game. And that would actually make her a lot worse. But because they made her kind of usable on pretty much any team, this allowed Princess Elizabeth to be one of the better LRs in the game. Now, I don't think it's a bad thing that they make characters made for specific teams, guys, but I definitely do think that if they're gonna make characters for specific teams, they need to make them, in the sense where they have characters already that are going to be strong on those teams, or they release those characters, pretty soon, to allow the LR to be, shine and be good at that. You know what I mean? Because I think right now, like, Lilia is a solid LR. The problem is with her, as I mentioned again, the catastrophes are just not good. You're not running her alongside catastrophes in the game right now. People are only running her on humans because catastrophes are just not good enough. And so that's my main thing, is that whenever they make these characters for specific teams, sure, maybe in the future when we get good catastrophe units, she might be a solid character, but right now at the moment and on the LR's release, they're just not good, and that's just not a good feeling, man. If a character releases as an LR, they should be good on their release. They should not be good in the future. They should not be good 2 years from now, a year from now. They need to be good now, in my opinion, man. I feel like if they're going to release an LR, why just release them if they're just going to sit in our box and not do anything? And that's kind of the situation that I feel like Lilia and Galand are in, where they're just not really usable right now on their specific teams. One example, though, I will mention of a character that initially was LR that we didn't really think was good, but actually became pretty solid, was LR Glockstow, guys. I mean, he was one of the LRs that from the jump, we looked at his kit and we were just like, yeah, he's not that insane. I mean, he'll be probably solid on like, a fairy team in like maybe PV, Chaos Battle PvP, but he wasn't going to be a mainstay in PvP or anything like that. But people found out that he was actually really good on Ratatoskr after we got Mark II Valenti. Now, this is going to be a case where eventually we maybe get a catastrophe character for Lilia, or, maybe Galand gets his Holy Relic in the future. These are things that can happen that'll make these characters good, maybe, but that's just something we don't know. LR Glocks on his release was garbage, but after he was able to be used on Ratatoskr alongside Valenti, people saw the value in the character. Now, I hope that's the same thing with Lilia and Galand, considering right now they're just not really usable characters in my opinion. So I hope that that kind of same thing happens with those characters and they get their viability through either, Galand getting a Holy Relic or Lilia getting, the catastrophe units she needs to be able to be better in the game. And again, guys, as I mentioned with the oversights in these characters' kits, they need to be able to proc their passes against meta units in the game, man. If we know DK Melee is going to be run every single time in the game, why does Power Destruction, whenever it gets removed from DK Melee, not give the attack related stats to the allies? I feel like that is a big oversight. And then also with Galand's commitment, why did they not buff it so that it could deal with, DK Melee? Allow Melee to get petrified whenever he gets a rank up on, his cleanse, right? Why not have those things, apply so that these characters are viable in PvP and are able to deal with the top meta characters in the game? These are just kind of my thoughts, guys, and the kind of LR discussion here on why they've been kind of bad as of late. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, though. I want you guys to kind of discuss this in the comments. Let me know how you feel about LRs and how you guys would change these characters, or if you guys agree with where they're at and they'll eventually get good in the game. But yeah, guys, that is going to be the video right there on the LRs and the state of LRs in Grand Cross. I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and we'll see you guys on the next one, man. Peace out and have a great rest of your day, guys. See you later, man.